Hey Neppers, it's me, Wild Neptune. This is going to be my testing video on Abyssal Yufine, the new Emerald 5-star that just came out in Mystic Summons. Should he build her? Should he even pull on her? Well, this video will hopefully answer those questions. Anyway, it's a disclaimer. It's just some placement matches in World Arena, so not the biggest competition, even though I will say that still in World Arena, not as many people are doing it right now because people are sick of this frenzy for like the 9th millionth time in a row. And really, you know, not too much has changed overall from the last time, which is, you know, of course, Emerald landing meta. But we're going to have some fun. So I'm going to show some matches. And then after that, we'll go over the build and what I think about the unit so far. So sit back and enjoy. It's the one I want to ban. And this is okay. Because I'm like pretty tanky. Wow, that's a very slow landing. It has to be like no, it has to be like no speed. Thank you. Wow, but wow, it hit the Vended Violet. Good job, Yufine. You did something. Right, very good. Ha! The Crescent. Oh, that's not good. Oh. Damn, I wasn't counting on the Crescent, so we will get to S3 somebody, which is unfortunate for me. In retrospect, probably not a good idea to hit him. Wow, he has no HP either. It doesn't kill though. I'm like pretty tanky on proof, and I have Yoha. I'm just going to do this. And this. S1. Okay, very good. So I'm pretty sure that... Okay, that's also good. It gives you a barrier and defense buff. So for my Yufine is sleeping. Oh, there we go. Oh, okay, that's fine. Oh, that is less than fine because that's like the worst one. That's like the only one. Oh, she lived. Okay, very good. Okay, she's still alive, just barely. Let's unload here. Oh, come on! Okay. The Yoha, though, will lap. Let's do it on the Landy. Oh my God. Okay. This will kill. Yes. And this will kill. All right. Easy. After it. I think we ban this. Okay. Double Yufine power. This is the match we go for.
Take down anyone who interferes. I'll show you the path to victory.
So what? Okay, sure. Trying to cleave me? Big mistake, buddy. He doesn't know what to do. Okay, he's gonna do that. If he misses, he just loses. I don't think he missed, but...
I don't really
Oh.
enjoy this. I'm by your side.
Oh,
You can
okay, never mind. It didn't matter. He was like mega screwed.
You look prettier after this.
Okay, so it looks like the Abyssal Yufine
Flowers are withering.
didn't really do anything. But you see, her CR, like, push reduction actually let me win that game. I feel like we have enough damage here. Overall.
Prove your worth. I'll remove you like you never even existed.
You do not understand. It's time for the finale of this little puppet show.
I'll reach you from existence.
Until the end.
Alright, good. Get a little more buffs up.
May blessings be with you. Children will help.
Another trial to overcome. The weight of the oath I've taken will be brought down upon
Wow, she has like no HP.
Let's
Kind of annoying, but sure.
You could try a little.
Get some damage in.
I win again. I'll sever all my attachments.
Careful, please move aside. The door will
Already down to 4 turns.
At least to you it will. I don't even know anymore.
Oh, it's AoE, so.
I don't really enjoy this.
Your own weakness.
Do not interfere. Help me.
I'll reach you from existence. I'll finish this soon.
Oh, that passive? Where's
I'll let
Politis?
you use
No,
it.
1 turn.
Prove your worth.
Oh, that's not
For
good.
My single, enduring desire.
Oh, she's alive.
A true knight picks their battles wisely.
And she has no stun.
Why don't you just surrender?
Oh,
I
that doesn't really matter.
am down.
It's all just in kill here. So, like, no dual attack.
Breathe right.
Okay, so unfortunately here, she's gonna die.
Or who's gonna snap first? Get ready, everyone. It's time to move.
Oh, that's right. It fucking strips. Amazing. Sure.
My spear will not dull
And it ignores ER.
till it pierces the heart of my enemy. You like it? Did it hurt you?
What's the soul burn do? Does increase damage? Okay. So I hope that was a fun little display on some of Abyssal Yufine's uses and her counters too, and maybe things that she's not quite good against, and maybe some things she is good against. But I have her here on speed set. Here is the gear that I have on her. You will notice that this gear is pretty good, and unfortunately, she will have to have really good gear to be usable for a lot of players, as she is a high gear score requirement hero. As far as the sets go that you really want on her, so the 4 that have been theorized are Speed, Lifesteal, Destruction, and Counter set. Let's go with Lifesteal set first. If you have a cracked Lifesteal set, I'm talking like these same stats right here at like 190 speed or something like that, that's probably the way to go. Honestly, you can even drop a little bit of attack, maybe a tiny bit of health. I wouldn't want to go much lower than this, like 17k. I feel is the lowest you really want to be on her right now. But if you can do that, that is insane. I can probably get to those numbers. The problem is that my lifesteal gear is on other units that really need the lifesteal gear. So Lionheart, Vemden Violet, Arya, 3 other units that have really high gear requirements. So unfortunately for me, my Abyssal Yufine is on this speed set. As far as counter set goes, I will say it's sounds good on paper, but since you get diminishing returns on the counter, it's probably not quite as good. Now, if you have the RNG and you can guarantee that on the counter set at maybe like 180 speed, you can get the S3 off on the first turn, that's probably worth it overall. It's just that it just adds a little bit more RNG into a kit that has more built-in RNG. And of course, she still has to be hit in order to get that the counterattack chance for the counter set. And I feel like against teams with heavy AoE, she doesn't really need that like little bit of extra chance anyway. So I will say out of the 4 sets, it is probably the worst one. Now on to speed set versus destruction, as I feel like this is going to be where a lot of the debate is going to be on 1, how fast you want your Yufine to be, and 2, how much damage you want it to have pre-trauma. So let's talk about her versus Cleave. Versus Cleave, she is like probably never getting S3 off anyway. It doesn't really matter, and I think she's just being tanky and her kind of sitting there, and maybe doing like a little bit of damage with her S1 can be kind of useful. So for that, I honestly don't think it really matters. In those cases, I think her bulk and everything is far more important than how much damage you have. Even though you still want to have, okay damage numbers pre-trauma for anti-cleave, but it's her passive that is really carrying her there, and also of course Elbrist and stuff like that too. So I don't think it's really a huge issue in those situations. Now, against standard or slower teams, this is where it gets more interesting. So, I honestly don't think there's much of a difference between 180 and like the 210 or so in terms of when you can actually S3. In the matches I had, and some matches I saw too, other people do, you don't get the frenzy on turn 1, like almost all the time. And if you do want to frenzy on turn 1, you either have to be on counter set and get lucky, or be really slow. And if you're too slow, you're not gonna lap around after you use the S3, and she might die. So having speed on her to actually get the turn right after she S3s is pretty important. And you saw there was a case, I believe, where if she was like 180, she might not have actually lapped and took a turn. Remember, because 27 speed, that turns into like 81 speed, I believe, after the trauma. And that is a pretty significant difference in when she's taking her turns. So I definitely think people might be undervaluing how much speed you have. Now, of course, these builds are also predicated on the fact that you will eventually use your S3 anyway. And sometimes 2 turns in this meta is too long, right? And I feel like that's also an issue, where if she can S3 on turn 1, like right off the bat, I feel like she'd be too good. I do think that might be a little bit too strong. It's just that there's no like real between turn 1 and turn 2, especially when she has all of these counters that she has, and we'll talk about those right now. So we saw, as far as counter unit goes, anything with like evasion is strong against her. Aiden, Vemden Violet is pretty good. Candy is insane against her. Last Rider Crow is really, really good against her. Lionheart obviously can be pretty good across the counters. There's just a lot of things that are very strong in the meta that are very good against her. And that's kind of an issue. And that really kind of relegates her to a more niche role as like a counter pick somehow, or against Cleave. And that's kind of disappointing, honestly. I really hope she'd be better against more standard-like teams versus just being an anti-Cleave unit, because I have a lot of anti-Cleave units, but, you know, another one isn't always that bad. The real question is, though, issue with pulling on. If you were at Pity, I'd wait. I believe Zio might be coming in the next rotation, and we don't have him. I would recommend you pick him up over Abyssal Yufine right now. She has her niches, right? She is a fair unit, I would say. She requires a lot of RNG on the S2 and to get those counterattacks, because like most of the time you definitely want a trauma on her turn 2, and even when you do, it's not always going to be the most insane thing ever, but she does do a lot of damage, right? If you do trauma though, you probably won. Like, let's be honest here. Now, if you need an anti-Cleave unit, I'll be honest here again. She is good against Cleave. Like, we saw a couple of Cleave fights in the test matches, and she did do a good job. So is SSR too. Things with evasion, like Aiden, Vended Violet are good against her. Lesser Rider Crow, Lionheart, Candy, they're good against her too. There's a pattern here. These are all units that are very good in the meta. Things like maybe like even Emma Malona, SSB is probably really good against her too. So again, there's a lot of counter picks that she had. MO Ken, if she is pre trauma, because this is AoE, MO Ken just kind of wrecks her, honestly. Could be also pretty strong, especially if MO Ken will always get a provoke on her with the S1, because you don't build ER to her or anything like that. Even though this does cleanse, what do you call it, the debuffs here on the S3, but remember, she still will get counterattacked and stuff on this because she still procs the counters, unfortunately, for her, even though I will say that's probably a more of a balancing thing overall. So a lot of units in the meta that are really strong in the meta that just counter her, or at least check her to an extent where she's hard to pick versus not Cleave. Of course, against Cleave, she worked pretty well, so, and we definitely saw her powers there. But should you pull on her just as an anti-Cleave unit? Probably not. I think she's an okay unit, definitely hard to use. I forced her in all my drafts, and I outgeared my opponents in all my drafts, and I still struggled in some of them because the Abyssal Yufine was just kind of sitting there, not doing too much in a lot of the matches. And I feel like that's kind of what she is, more of a unit for anti-Cleave or in very specific situations in other setups. Anyway, if you ask me if I regret pulling on her and molding her, no, not at all. For me at least, she's always a unit I was always going to try to pull on, and if I got her, I was always going to plus 15 her no matter what and give her some of my best gear possible, just because I really like Yufine as a character. Always been one of my favorites overall. But for the general player base again, I probably will say you want to wait to see the next rotation. I believe Zio might be coming up on the next one, so, and he's definitely a better hero than Yufine. I would say Zio is like a top 5 character right now, at least as far as PvP and RTA goes. Abyssal Yufine, she's definitely way more niche. She has a uses, right? She's not a useless character. She's not bad by any means. Just, you have to pick her spots very carefully, because, again, a lot of very strong meta counters for her, and the comp she's good against, there are just a lot of other characters also are good against them too. But I will say, having like Politis and Abyssal Yufine against some of the Cleave teams can be pretty nice too, because it definitely forces those teams into pretty rough situations. So another thing you want to consider, but again, that's not quite enough to give her my recommendation to pull on her quite yet. So you probably want to hold off at least until you see what's coming up next. Well, I'm Wild Neptune. It's been a good one. Nep out.